How's everybody doing so far? Having a good morning? Yeah? Learning lots? Getting over hangovers? Come on, yeah.
Go Cubbies.
Yeah, go Cubs. I'm a Blue Jays fan, so, you know.
So the man presenting without slides today is going to be Ryan Dodge, Royal Ontario Museum's Digital Engagement Coordinator, and the live tweeter of many an MCN session. Expert on all things social media.
Are any of us experts? I don't know. It changes so quickly. I think, you know, if we can just get this input to work, that'd be amazing. It totally worked a minute ago. I had the slides up.
Actually, would you like to try your computer and we can see if we can switch the session, see if your machine's going to work? Or we can just move the slides off of your machine. Yeah, just to see if we can do it. You know, try to put this game, see if that's, and then we can move over your slides. Or is it just not picking it up?
It's not picking up at all. Yeah. Yeah. All right. You know what? I'm gonna talk a little bit because I don't want to waste everyone's time. Yay! Amazing. Okay. Let's get this sorted. No. And all right. Peter, remind me how to full screen this. There we go. Can everyone see that okay? Okay, I'm gonna not waste any more time, everyone's time, if that's okay, Peter. I'm gonna really try to speak into the mic, and I'm gonna really try to be quick because I already wasted a little bit of time. So, I'm Ryan Dodge. I work at the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto. I'm Digital Engagement Coordinator, and this is a content strategy that I developed just over a year ago. After a few years of just really pushing a lot of content to the internet and not really deeply looking at what we were doing and how it was working or not working for us. So this comes out of that. And I mean, really just a little bit of context for everyone. Like, here's what happens online in 60 seconds. There's a ton of content flying around there. And, you know, winning online is really difficult because people are overwhelmed with all this content. And a lot of people just throw stuff up on the internet assuming it's going to stick with people, and they don't do any sort of research into how things play out online. In 2014, a Nielsen report found that American adults spend more than 11 hours a day with online content. So there's a lot of people online. We all kind of know this. And as museums, I think we need to really realize that our content is in direct competition with not just other museums. We're not really in competition with other museums. We're in competition with media outlets, publishers, creators. Our biggest competition is I Fucking Love Science, Discovery Channel, National Geographic. Like it's a serious thing that we need to really start thinking about. And in my opinion, museums need to start thinking like media companies and publishers if they're gonna compete in the online world. The major advantage that we have over all of these media companies is content. Sorry. We have content. We have rooms full of stuff that we can talk about that are amazing. And all of these other people, they come to us for content. So we should be pushing it out ourselves. The other form of competition that we have is people's attention spans on the internet. The average web visits, I saw Sarah Wombolt doing, she's going to speak on that. But, the average web visit is pretty short across the internet. It's about 15 seconds, give or take. So people have very short attention spans online, and you really need to grab people right away. And without a content strategy, it's really hard to do that. A year and a half ago, we had no content strategy. We weren't looking heavily at our data. We were just throwing content up online and hoping it would resonate. I went to a content strategy workshop at Museum Next in 2015. Concha Rhoda and Tiana Tasic did that. Concha's slides are up on her SlideShare. It's full of an amazing set of resources. And in that session, I was introduced to Christina Halverson, who's the CEO of a digital agency called Brain Trust. And this image is from 2009. And this is what I used to build out our content strategy, the two sides. So I have a really boring slide deck that deals with workflow and governance. I'm not going to show you that today, but that's what I gave to my senior managers, and this is the fun one. Christina says that content strategy for the web, sorry, just let me I just want to get her quote right. Content strategy plans for the creation, publication, and governance of usable content. The content strategy must work to define not only which content will be published, but why we're publishing it in the first place. Otherwise, content strategy isn't a strategy at all. It's just a glorified production line for content nobody really wants or needs. So Christina has a book out. It came out in 2009. She's since published two more editions. It's called Content Strategy for the Web. And I encourage you guys to pick that up if you have time. So from doing all this back end, I went down the rabbit hole of content strategy online and did a lot of research. And this is what I came up with for our online content strategy. This is what all that means. So we want content that stirs the emotions of our audiences. We want something our content to have a practical impact on their lives. We also want to make connections with the real world whenever possible. A lot of people call this newsjacking, but it's really, really valuable. We're keeping a much closer eye on our data. We're repeating successes and learning from our failures. We're now also producing content once and spreading it widely, which is something we weren't doing before. Like I said, there's a ton of research about this online, but not everything will go viral, and that's not the point of this. But if you're following the suggestions that I'm going to go over in a little bit, your content's going to be smarter, more efficient, and more relevant and more powerful. I've kind of distilled a lot of the stuff. I spent a good couple of months coming up with this, so I've kind of distilled everything for you. But people share things because it's meaningful to them. They share because they want to increase their networks, and they tell people about products that they or institutions that they love. To deliver digital content that makes people stop and interact, brands need to first focus on finding a powerful insight. And you do this by asking why, over and over and over and over again. Or you can run a workshop or something like that, but you really need to get to the base insight that encourages people to do something online. And you do that like my friend here, just keep asking why until you get. I don't think a lot of people in museums ask why before they start creating content. They're just pushing out content because they feel they need to. And if you just take a step back for a second and say, why are we doing this? Is this valuable for our community? Is it going to have a practical impact on their lives? Your content's going to be that much better. The other thing that we don't do a lot in online content is build emotion into our content. Emotion is a great driver of sharing, and a lot of this stuff is just repurposed print ads, and that's not a good thing to do. If you don't believe me, again in 2009, the University of Pennsylvania did a study on the New York Times articles that were shared. They analyzed over 500,000 articles, and what they found is that content that stirred emotions in readers were more likely to be shared. Stories that caused anxiety, awe, and anger in readers tended to be shared more and more. Content that was surprising, piqued in interest, and had a practical utility for readers was also more likely to be shared. Museum content can do all of these things, so why aren't we doing it? A lot of us treat social like a billboard. We can't be afraid to ruffle a few feathers as museums. Now, I'm not saying we belittle or insult our communities, but we need to tap into stories and topics that people are passionate about, because that's going to ignite some reactions in people. There's lots of museums that have the potential to talk about these controversial objects because of their collections. For us, controversial blog posts receive twice as many comments and page views on average than just a general blog post. Here's an example. This is from a year ago. The news coming out of Iraq and Syria about the destruction of cultural heritage really angered a lot of people. And if you look at this post, this is from March, when some news was coming up. Posts of this nature for us don't do very well. They get like 500 to 1,500 reach. And all this is, it's 64 words, a link back to our statement to the website, and an image from our collection. So if you think about those posts that you usually do that are just a couple of words and a link, your reach is probably not that great. This is all organic and everything. But this tapped into what people were talking about, and it stirred an emotion, and people were really angry about this, and so they clicked and shared and all that kind of stuff. We should be experts in the wonder business, shouldn't we? We have so many things that we should be blowing people's minds. And awe is safer than anger to tap into. It's more surprise. It's the reason we can't stop watching blockbuster movies with big explosions, superheroes, and things like that. Anything that's larger than life. Anytime people say, that's amazing, they're going to share it. They're going to comment on it. So we need to be making that happen more and more. Just like my friend here, we need to really think about how we can blow people's minds on a regular basis. Like I said, this should be easy for us. I wonder if I can play this. How much time do we have? 5 minutes? So I'm not going to play this, but you can go and look at this. This is a video that one of our collections technicians did. It's a leech eating off her thumb, having a little snack. It's 26 seconds long. It's done on an iPhone, no lighting, no mic, no nothing. And this sneaky little link right here, that link actually is back to our March break programming. So we put this on Facebook. And these are old numbers. It's actually up over 4 million reach right now, organic, and it has 500,000 views. It's a 26-second video of a leech eating someone's thumb.
Press play.
The comments on it.
Press play.
The comments on it. Will it play for me? Oh no. You guys can watch it later. I don't want to eat up everyone else's time. It was gross. It was unexpected. There's so many comments going, nope, gross. But people shared it, and you have people commenting with people's names and things like that. It's a 26-second video. You guys can do this on your phones quickly, easily. Humor. Oh my God. Why can't we be funny? Why can't we try to make people laugh, smirk a little bit? The selfie guide that we did a couple years ago is a good example of this. It was relevant. The Russian safe selfie guide, the government of Russia put out a safe selfie guide because people were dying taking selfies on a Monday. It came out. We published ours on a Friday. People were talking about this topic, and all we did was run around the museum quickly and take some selfies. People laughed. I mean, we had even an art critic in New York talk about it. So for us, a relatively small museum in Toronto and it's small in Canada, that's big for us. Last December, Star Wars came out, so we photoshopped some Star Wars imagery into one of our most famous pieces of art, and people loved it. And for those of you that don't know, the red guys are British, and a lot of people asked us why we didn't give them red lightsabers. So it started this whole conversation about our content and the kind of conversations that it can incite. This is a post, just talking about relevant content. Last November, it was unseasonably warm in Toronto, and an army of ladybugs just swarmed the city, and people were wondering what was going on. So our entomology technician did it's like a 200-word blog post, a couple of images, and it like quadrupled the amount of page views that we usually get on a blog post because it was practical. People could use it, and it delivered on our content strategy. So what I've done is I've created a checklist for our staff. So I encourage everyone to print this out and put it beside their computers. And it really just, if you're not checking yes on most of these, then you need to rethink your content. You need to step back and think about why you're doing it in the first place. That's how your content is really powerful. It'll do a lot more for you if you just step back for a minute and think about it for a second. And this is important because this guy controls the game. We don't control the game. It's not our party. Sorry guys, I'm going fast. It's not our party. He controls everything. And the latest algorithm that changed is geared towards friends and families content, not publishers content. So we need people sharing our content more now than ever. A share is way more important than anything else. Unless you have a vault of gold coins, but we're museums, we don't. The world's biggest brands, they only post a couple of times because they throw lots of money behind it. But if you follow all these rules, you're being resourceful, and as nonprofits, we need to be resourceful. We need to educate ourselves about content strategy because we need our content to be smarter and more powerful and more efficient. Okay. Did I get everything in time?
Oh, plenty of time.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's plenty of questions too for Ryan. Let's say thanks.
Thanks, guys. Sorry, I was trying to be quick to be a good session.
Yeah, we still have a couple minutes for questions, but if you guys want to switch machines, just
Yeah, let's do tech switch because that'll be a thing.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So you didn't talk very much about how you choose what platforms to use and even what kinds of tools you might use to manage your content. How are those decisions made? Are you the sole person making the decisions? And then also, are there other people in the organization who are also, tweeting and posting things?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't have any resources. I don't have any money for what I do. So we don't use like Hootsuite Pro or anything like that. We're publishing natively on all platforms. We use TweetDeck and then Facebook and Instagram. Those are our three main platforms. I've been in this job for 4 years now, and after about the first year, I quickly realized that I couldn't do it all myself. So I instituted monthly workshops where we actually train people how to be efficient and effective communicators online. So we do everything from like, how to do a good Instagram post, how to tweet, how to put alt text in your images, how to put multiple photos, how to all that kind of stuff. We focus really on little topics. We schedule an hour, but we only talk for 10 or 15 minutes. And then there's always a million questions that come up after that. And it becomes less like you need to do this is how you do it, and more like we're learning together. I think the biggest thing about all this stuff online is people are afraid, like they're scared. They don't want to seem like they're asking a stupid question or something like that. But the reality is we're all learning this stuff all together. There's a new change every day. So if you approach it in that sense, then people will be more likely to take it up. We have over 100 staff that are tweeting from personal accounts at the ROM. If you go on our profile, you can see the list. I'm really proud of that because people have taken it and they've figured out how to add it to their day-to-day. They're not doing more work, they're just working slightly different. And creates this whole pool of content that I can pull from as the main accounts. So I'm not running around the museum with my head cut off trying to find stuff to publish. And then, you know, as terms of like blog posts and things, people do, we have an open, we use Drupal so people can publish themselves. And we just ask them to follow the content guidelines. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. When they don't, I throw some numbers at them and say, maybe you could have tried this and it would have got this much more views, reach, things like that. A lot of people know to come and ask me first now, and we just have a quick chat. I do a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of smaller groups. It's a big part of my job, that teaching aspect, and I like that. I like that people are interested, but it's really important. Does that answer everything? Okay. Yeah.
So what are your overarching goals with your social media? What is a Facebook post that's shared 4 million times do for the museum itself, besides raise your profile?
Yeah, so if you Google ROM social media, you can actually see our objectives are on our website. There's two. One is to build awareness about everything that we do, and the other one is dialogue. So we want to have conversations with people. We want to give them content that will, like I said, that has a practical utility in their lives that they can use, that they can share, that they can talk about, that they learn from. And you know, we want to, maybe people didn't know that we actually have live leeches at the museum. So, you know, we want to share the stuff that's happening behind the scenes. We want to build awareness about our research. We have research scientists that go all over the world, adding new knowledge to the human record. You know, we're not just programs and exhibitions and collections. We are an active research institution. So there's that aspect that a lot of people don't know. So for us, that little video is a win. And then for like my manager, she'll do the analytics, the click-throughs and to the website and you know, connecting the traffic to the buy tickets page and things like that. But I'm not interested in how many tickets we sell. I'm interested in how many people we can educate and excite about everything that we're doing at the museum.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Samantha from the Bros.